News at 7.
All right, flu season is officially here. Dr. Richard Chaffoo joins us with how to prevent getting sick. Good morning, doctor.
Good morning, Chris. How are you?
Good. Happy belated Christmas. Came back after a week off, and one of our floor directors said, yeah, we've all been hit with this thing.
Exactly.
A lot of families dealing with this. So are we in the peak of flu season right now?
Well, Chris, we're going to be peaking. Probably it's around February or March. Researchers tell us when the peak season is. And of course, it's a little different every year, but certainly we're going into that direction now with the new year coming up.
Is it worse than normal? It seems like a lot of people are getting sick.
It does, Chris, and a lot of this has to do with the strains. You know, certain years, certain of these viruses tend to be more pathogenic or more illness producing, if you will, and this year seems to be particularly so. You
know, let me back this up with something empirical here. Since October 1st, according to the CDC, 13,400 people have been afflicted by the flu. With this flu vaccine, and every year there are different strains,
yes,
and they try to, I guess, genetically figure out how to get this right. How effective is this vaccine this year?
So that great question. You know, every year it's a bit different. You know, we're seeing probably it's going to be about a 50%, 50 to 60% at the best circumstances. And Chris, the reason behind that is twofold. One thing which you already said is the fact that, you know, researchers try to predict which ones of these strains are going to be most prevalent during the flu season. And then secondly, we have to remember that the actual virus replicates and mutates very rapidly. In fact, even more rapidly than researchers or companies can do producing the vaccine. So, you know, we take the flu shot really not just to reduce our likelihood for getting the disease, but as you alluded to before, remember that the flu affects in a more serious manner those of the extremes of age, you know, young children and elderly, you know, people that we love and know and we're around during the holiday season. So we're doing it not just for ourselves, but for those around us.
It affects the young and the old because their immunities are more compromised?
Absolutely. When we're, you know, at the extremes of age, so they're the ones that are more likely to get hospitalized, you know, and unfortunately the ones that are more likely to suffer serious complications, pneumonia, and then death.
Okay, so with the strains, and back to this for just a minute, I mean, with all the advances in medicine these days, we still can't come up with a cure for the common cold or how to actually figure out how to tackle the flu every year.
Yes.
This is really a moving target, and you mentioned 50%. Is that optimistic, or do you think that's about right?
It's probably about right. If we look at last year's statistics, it was about 60%. Unfortunately, in 2014-15, the researchers kind of got it wrong. It was only about 19% effective.
Okay.
So each year it's different.
So you still implore your patients, though, to get the flu vaccine?
I get the flu shot every year because, you know, I'm around patients. I have a lot of children in my home, obviously.
How many children do you have now?
6 at last count.
God bless your soul. That's amazing. Good for you and your wife. All right, what should we do to avoid getting sick?
Right, so the big thing to do, Chris, is remember hand washing. You know, it's something we don't emphasize enough. And how should we wash our hands? Well, obviously soap and water, right? How long should we wash our hands for? About 20 seconds. And then remember, after you wash your hands, you want to dry them thoroughly because wet hands are those that tend to, you know, pick up and transfer microorganisms more likely. Probably towels. Interesting, a small study looked at, you know, what type of, how do we dry our hands? And, you know, we found that probably drying with a towel versus the air dryer is more effective.
Interesting. Is the machine itself an issue? Those those hand drying machines?
You know, that's a great question. I'm not really sure if it's that or if you're like me when you go in, you just, you know, put your hands in and out. You're like, oh, that's dry enough. I'm done. With a towel, you're just more likely to dry the hands more thoroughly.
To your point, too, how many people actually wash their hands for 20 full seconds? That's a long time if you count from 1 to 20 doing this.
It's a long time. You know, it's funny. You can sing Happy Birthday to yourself twice, or a wash my hands. Like Row, Row, Row Your Boat, the song.
Oh, you do have 6 kids. Okay, you're in dad role right now, aren't you? Dr. Chaffoo, happy belated Christmas.
You
and thanks
too,
so
Chris.
much for joining us this morning.
My pleasure.